Hi, this is Paul. I'm coming back with a special video. I got in today, the day after the trade deadline, a blind trade return from Kane Autograph, and being I'm doing a video on that, I also got in one TTM return. So let's do the TTM return first, and then we'll do the blind trade from Mike Kane Autograph. So we got Jeff Ballard, 6 of 6 in 98 days. On the 88 Donruss, the 92 Donruss, the 90 Fleer. Shout out to Biggie Hurt, 35 Pennsylvania Sports. He's working on that set. Then we have the 89 Score, and then the 92 Tops times 2. Okay. So that takes care of that TTM. I cleaned up all my other TTMs yesterday. So now the blind trade from Mike Cardinal Kane, or to be correct, when the Cardinals is you always have the first name Cardinal and then the last name. So we can either go with Kane Cardinal Autograph or Mike Cardinal Kane. But he is the. A few weeks ago, I made a video. I made up a TTM Vatican because I had already had Johnny Serena as the Pope, and usually under the Pope you have Cardinals, and I figured being Pope Leo is a White Sox fan who made a lot of acquisitions yesterday at the trade deadline, I figured just as a laugh and to break the levity, I would name 10 popes, because 10 cardinals, because normally there's a college of cardinals that name the new pope when, God forbid, the pope passes away, or he, in this case, a few years ago, the current pope was in bad health, so he became a pope emeritus, and they named a new pope. And both of them, I believe, passed. And usually the College of Cardinals, there's 10 of them, they name the new pope, and that's when the blue smoke comes out of the Vatican. So I named 10 TTM Cardinals for what their specialty is, and Cardinal Kane is the cardinal of creative content or whatever. I can't remember, because of the way he presents his TTM returns in this sort of PowerPoint presentation. So Mike does a terrific job. He's a great TTM, a great guy. He does the blind trades, and we've done several. And this one, we kind of changed it up a little. We did some newer stuff as opposed to either vintage or junk wax. So the note from Mike, Trader Paul, thanks for the blind trade and the cards you gifted to me. Hard to believe we are at the MLB trade deadline. I hope the Twins don't do an ugly dump. The Twins actually, off the top of my head, did acquire 2 relief pitchers, AJ Minter from the Mets, and then I believe yesterday they acquired Jeff Hoffman from the Toronto Blue Jays. And this is going to get me on a little thing. Growing up in New York, Mets fan, we'd have the Met game, and then we'd have Kindness Corner. This is on WR Channel 9. And then we'd have after Kindness Corner would be the Channel 9 News with Tom Dunn, and I believe the lady's name was Sarah Lee Kessler or whatever. And then after that, at midnight, there would be the Joe Franklin show. Joe Franklin kind of was he did a talk show that revolved around nostalgia, from like the 1930s all the way actually to the modern times. But on Saturday Night Live, Billy Crystal, who did 1 year on Saturday Night Live, he did a lot of characters. Of course, Billy Crystal, a terrific Yankee fan, great Yankee fan. And He did a lot of characters. He did the Fernando's Hideaway. He did a lot of characters, and he did a takeoff on Joe Franklin, and he'd have these guests on that weren't really, they were made up as part of the skit. But Joe Franklin, the real Joe Franklin, he would name his sponsors, and so Billy Crystal did like two skits on it, and his sponsors were Martin Paints. It ain't just paints, and then Strites Matzah, and that's Passover matzah if you're among the Jewish faith. And he would go matzahs by Strites for the unleavened experience of a lifetime, which of course matzah, the technical term for matzah, is unleavened bread. And then he said you could wash it down with a glass of Hoffman beverage, beverages by Hoffman. So that ties into Jeff Hoffman. I don't think he's related. So it was very, very funny. It's on YouTube. You can search it, Billy Crystal, Saturday Night Live, Joe Franklin. Very, very funny. So that's my comedy shtick. So as I said, we changed it up. So Mike sent me back Billy Spires, 95 Tops. Then Grady Little on the 04 Tops. That was his last card as manager of the Red Sox, because in 03, if you're a Yankee fan, and shout out to the Yankee guys, fans, Cardinal Bob, TTM then and now, and then of course Chris and Chris collecting cards. But in Game 7 of the 03 American League Championship Series, Grady Little, the Yankees were down by like 3 runs, and in the 7th inning, they had a rally, and Grady basically was fired because he let Pedro Martinez talk him into staying into the game. I believe that's when Pedro came out in the press conference, he calling the Yankees his daddies. And actually today on TBS, there is a segment on the pregame show, because Pedro does the pregame show with Jimmy Rollins and Curtis Granderson and Lawrence Shahadi, where after the game, on the post game, they have a little skit on, who's your daddy, Pedro, for the game. So it's very, very, it's funny. It's good that, they can laugh about that. But of course, what ended up happening, the Yankees tied it. And then Aaron Boone, when he was a player for the Yankees in 03, hits the walk-off. And the Yankees go to the World Series. They end up losing to the Florida Marlins. But it may have been a blessing in disguise, because they replaced Grady Little with Tito Francona. So that's the story on that. Then we have Tim Redding on the 08 Tops. Chris Volstad on the 2012 Tops. Dave Magadan on the 91 Stadium Club. Dave Magadan does charge $5 for a block of 3 cards. But you send him 5 and 3 cards, or whatever, 6 cards, $10. He will sign them. Dave Magadan is also the cousin of Sweet Lou Piniella, who should be in the Hall of Fame. We're talking about the Yankees. And then lastly, and then coincidentally, because Lou won his world championship with the Rays, we have Kevin Jarvis on the 96 Upper Deck Collector's Choice. So other than that, I'll leave a link to Mike's channel in the description, Kane Autograph. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to everybody later.